Yeah, so that Saturn's coming down to conjunct the Sun, conjunct the Mercury. She's going to be figuring out, she's going to be going on her own goals, on her own dreams as possible. You have to see that she logged in the 20, 30, 20 some odd years with the family, brought up the daughter, and now it's her time to do something on her own. She always has been, but there's always been some handicaps, some challenges. So she's feisty. She'll do this. It's really like a whole new world opening up. She's done, Mom. What's next? If you can bring up a kid, what can't you do? You could do almost anything. So you see the difference immediately. If someone hasn't had a kid and someone has a kid, the attitude, the responsibilities to taking care of things, to being committed to things is totally a different texture. So learning from experience, you know, and this Capricorn Aquarius, this is the old wise woman, the Jupiter, Saturn, Sun in the first house. Wow. And she's on her track. She's got more growth. So in the consultation, you know, she's got Saturn going over her Sun, defining her goals. It's going to go down through. So the first quadrant of personal growth and development. She's got to define her goals and decide not what she's going to accomplish. I don't know what she needs to learn to get more accomplishment. It's like, how do you step back a couple of steps and go do the things you really want to get so you can be your own master, really know what else does she need to learn so that she gets really motivated when Saturn gets down on her IC. And then she starts building things up. So we see that from the Saturn from where she is. Okay, now I want to look at the 8-year graph. And to back up, so the Saturn is your main anchor. We're seeing the timing, we see where it's, and you look at the natal chart, and you know where Saturn is, you can pretty well figure out the steps just on your own. It's got to be a texture if you're looking. It's not a replacement for the natal chart, it's the next layer you add on, but it can be done without the ephemeris, mostly. You can get within a year, you can more or less see the phases going on. It's just knowing the timings, knowing the exact dates allows you to walk in and say, well, what's happening here? What's happening? This has to be done by then. And then it becomes more surgical. More specific. But as the astrologer, be prepared. You're already seeing the direction. You're not dividing. Saturn's coming after Sun. She's going to define her goals. She's going to be fixing things she wants for herself. She's been feeling insecure. She wants to fix that insecurity, do her own thing, and build it up. And that's got to be encouraging. She's got time to get a whole nother degree on top of this if she wanted to. No, or yeah. So that's what's next. You know, define the goals. I'm just waiting. It's got to be settled. Then I can do some things. Until it's done, I can't. You know, like it's a patience. That's a Saturn patience going through, and then to get the Saturn in its Capricorn and Jupiter. I know I gotta wait. It's just, so that's there. Okay, we look at Pluto 2015, all the way through 8 years. No Pluto hassles. Okay, so. Her Pluto hassles were earlier when Pluto hit the descendant. That would have been in a few years before that, and that would have, yeah, okay. So then and Neptune has not been a problem. 2015, 2016, 17, 18, not really a problem. But Neptune at 2019 and 20 is conjuncting Venus. This is a vision. This is a dream. I see what I want to do. I can see where I'm going. I can see what I can do. If I can get the settlement and I can do things, I can see where this is going, and I can start doing some of the dreams that I want to do. So she got the dream going on big time over this year. So she's got the big dream. At the same time, she's making decisions. How do I make a commitment to live up to the dream? You got the Saturn going over the Sun, but the dream is strong, and it's right there this whole time, at the same time as Saturn's still forcing her to make decisions. So these are both they're both conjunctions. They're not squares or oppositions. They're both moving in her favor. Maybe she had to compromise her dreams about mom being mom for a long time, and now it's kids grown up. Time's coming for her. It's her time to do things, and she knows a lot of things on what she could do. Okay, so that's the Neptune. So we go back, and then there's no other Neptune. So it's only, if anything, that's more of a rapturous or romantic or idealized sense of values, and her Venus isn't afflicted anyway. So getting some things she wants, She has big visions of what she wants. Okay. The Uranus, what, Saturn shocks 1567? No, Uranus squared her sun in 2018. And it's gone into 2019. This was probably the trying to make the final break and trying to let it go. Okay. And so that, I've seen her a lot of years, but I did go to a meditation, a chanting thing at her place sometime over the summer when Saturn was on the IC. So she's being motivated, but she knew she'd let go. She'd set it in motion. She's just waiting for it to complete itself. But that was the breaking, that was the snap, the Uranus squaring the sun. Certainly was anxiety ridden. And, but the Saturn on there, she does represent a new beginning, a new motivation. I can't live the old way. I've got to do a new way. I've got to do things differently. And that's the Saturn. I see that's going on now. Well, it's just finished an intense period. It goes forward, backs up a bit, comes back again really April, May. So April, May, she's had the Neptune, she's seen the dream. There's still the last hit. She's fixed. So crises always have a crisis can have three manifestations. There's people who rush to fix things before they happen. There's the people who it's happening, they got to deal with it immediately, and then or find different ways to deal with it. And then there's people who are fixed signs usually that wait till this isn't real, and they wait till the last hit before it plays out. So she's pretty stubborn. She has a lot of fixed and more inclined for the last hits to be the stronger ones or to be the one. So Saturn conjuncts her sun and conjuncts her. It opposes. What's running here? No, it's conjuncting the sun. Uranus is opposing the MC. So this is the shock. I'm sorry. The Uranus to the MC is the shock around home. They're trying to break with the past. They're trying to make it new. That's opposing the midheaven. That's changing the home. You would think it implies a move, but she likes her place. She's probably determined to keep the place. But this is coming on. So there's the break is being made. The changes to the home, the need to make commitments, the Saturn's there, that's coming right up. Then there's but Uranus is coming up to hit the Mercury on and off for the next, for 2021, 2022, 2020, 21, 22. Uranus is going to be on and off square Mercury. So that means plans, her expectations for her plans, she's defining her goals, but her plans are still going to have change. There's going to be changes to her plans. There'll be disruptions, things will happen differently. She expects to be, it'll take a few years to get, there'll still be some instability around this. So possibly she tries to get the settlement, she gets the settlement, but there may be disruptions to it in some way from his side or something. Something's shaking up the Mercury Neptune. She has Mercury square Neptune. Uranus is shaking it up, it's breaking any old illusion, but it also still makes one restless and nervous. It's like it's hard to plan when things are still somewhat unstable here. So even though the divorce would be there, it doesn't look like everything's finished with right away. There's still some shocks around communication things. And again, Uranus sitting on the IC during all these times. The big issue is, do you stay where you are, do you get another place, or do you move? Do you make a change? If ever there was going to be a change, it would come during this. How much of a change? Maybe it's a change just to have it myself. Maybe there's there's still a lot of change. And so there's still a lot of disruption and shock going on in the middle of this commitment. Like she's trying to make her commitment, but Uranus is still playing. And Uranus, I mean, Saturn is the one you have to go with. You have to go with the commitments, and Saturn's there. And then in 2021, Saturn squares the midheaven, but it conjuncts the IC. So she's making the decisions, but she's making decisions at the same time as decisions are changing rapidly. So there's some shocks going on, and there's eventually, by the end of this, she gets her handle on it. Or so her strength is building up on herself with the Saturn going through, like Donald said, but the Saturn's in on this as you see it as you're going forward. So she has all these shocks of changing all these things, and it's changing the home and trying to break free of the home and break free, mutual commitments, settle all these things to get the final divorce papers done. I know what it's like. You'll get that last bit of papers, nissy. I think they call you have to It's done, but you have to wait 3 more months, and then finally they give the okay for it, and then finally you can start going ahead. So there's still a lot of shocks and disruptions through the year. So there's still some Murphy's Law going on inside of this, not stable. But her chart, when we go to Saturn, we know where Saturn is going down to study more, but it went over the ascendant, went down. So like this we see when we see Saturn 2015, nothing. 2016 squaring Venus, not happy. 2017 opposing the Mars, squaring the Moon. That's working hard to have to deal with. There's disruptions, there's things, and it's conjuncting the ascendant, and the squaring the Moon, conjunct the ascendant, opposing the Mars. This is all 2018, all the frustrations and disruptions and having to deal with them. At the same time, Uranus was squaring the Sun, so this brought the exasperation level up to like, gotta change this. But there's a difference between the plan to change it and getting it actually done. So 2019 was more disruptions. Like she didn't have the Saturn buffering it. The Uranus was hitting the Sun and opposing the MC. It's still opposing the MC throughout this March, April. So, and it's squaring the middle. So she'll have plans what she's going to do. And just as soon as she thinks everything's going to be solved, some disruption is going to come up. So she's got her plans she's making, but she'll have to make them a couple of times because Saturn comes back and forth to the Sun. But there's still some wild card things going on. Eventually, by holding on to Saturn, making sure she's studying, she's doing some things for herself, not accentuating the shocks, letting go what's let go of, and working towards the new. That's the steady work. So she could be working through that, and maybe the partner isn't. They're both hanging really around their daughter. I don't know. There's still a play going on here for a while. I think the legal things could commit by the Sun by the time Saturn hits the Sun. But it's one thing to have the legal paper, another thing to have everybody living up to it. This is the puzzle I see from this. Okay, so, and then once you get into 2022, those have fallen away. So then when we're looking at this against the background of Saturn's going down through the first quadrant. She's got this is personal growth and development. She's got, where was I? What was I doing? I don't want to be doing what I used to be doing. The difficulty is when Saturn's below the horizon, especially when it first goes below, you're still thinking as if it was above the horizon for the last 15 years. I'm married, bringing up the kids, whatever. You're still thinking in that matrix. Now you're not thinking in the matrix, you have to think for yourself. And every time you think about the matrix, she's trying to clear herself of it. And as soon as she goes back to think about it, it's going to be disruptions, and those things won't fail. So like, how do you get going for yourself to do the things you want, not because you're trying to get away from somewhere, just because it's what you got to do? And how do you start working on that regardless? You don't wait till it's all solved. You can't wait till everything's solved completely to do things you need to do. She needs to make some commitments for herself almost now or in a few months. Okay, so that's a fair. I've thrown in bits and pieces, things that I know. I don't know a lot, but I know there's some pieces, and I put them in to just make this come out so you can see how this is playing out. We got that. We know by looking at this, the regressed Sun is moving along. It's not moving down around Venus, and it's moving down in the sense of it is in the house of resources, of values, of doing what I want to do. It's down in this area of learning, of growing. It's not moving up more to career. It's more, what's my lifestyle? How am I going to live? So she's having to solve the marriage things and how I'm going to live for myself, and how much, like, what do you, like, everybody, even anybody has their kids, by the time their kids grow up, they have to look at, you trade off things to bring up your kids. Then you have to look at each other for a moment after the kids are grown up, and you're crystallizing those two roles. You might not relate to the other person so well. It takes another big adjustment to make a relationship go the next 20, 30 years, because you have to say, okay, they've grown up now. We can get time to do, can we do this? Or sometimes you get too different. So, okay. Now we got to look at the 2-year plan with the transits more immediately. I do 2 year, I go back a month and then I go forward. So I see anything happen in the last month or so, and then I put it forward. So if someone coming to see me, this lets me get into the immediate things going on now.